Well, today I really want to just make sure that this is something where you come out of this with some action items, some things that spark your uh, kind of perception of what you can do in your business, not only for this year, but just some simple tweaks that can make a positive impact. And today we're going to have the opportunity to hear from four individuals that went to Family Reunion this past week. For those of you who are not familiar with this is the largest real estate convention for agents specifically that happens in the country every year. I think this year we had 13-ish thousand agents that came from all across the world to come to this event. And it's an investment, right? You're paying roughly $3,000 for flights, hotel, the ticket to the event. And so it's a commitment. Not only is it a commitment of money, but it's also a commitment of time. And I think what's most important is that people, why do they tend to go to these events? To learn, right? And to get a return on the investment, right? Say, if I'm going to put X amount into going to this event, I expect to get some knowledge or some ideas that can help me grow my business in excess of whatever I spend to go, right? And so I always love hearing some of the takeaways, the strategies, the ways that people are thinking coming out of these events. And so please give a hand for our panelists that are coming up today. We've got Sally Price, Josh Sterling, we've got Cameron Wilson, and Erica Hernandez. Give them a hand. Give them a hand. Now, we'll actually, I'm going to start with you guys just sharing a little bit about your backstory. Just a quick 30-second snapshot. I'm going to have Josh go first because Josh, you're at Remax.
Yes, I am. Yep.
Spot. But here's what's interesting. You've paid to go to Keller Williams Family Reunion in the last 3 years, even though you're not a KW agent.
That's right.
So I want to understand, like, why is that you keep going back, and why do you feel like it's a great investment for you to keep going?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. So I initially got introduced to Keller Williams by Shoney. He said, "Hey, you really need to come to this. You're a top producer. This is where top producers go. This is where people who are maybe not a top producer and want to become better, this is where they understand the strategies, the processes, and the systems to become a top producer or just get better in your business, depending on where you're at." And so I thought, this really sounds like the place I need to go. And so at that point, Shoney invited me. I went and I was hooked, honestly. The first time I went, it was super cool. The information, the knowledge, it's really a lot of, I would call it a lot of short YouTube videos on steroids. That's really what it is. I was bouncing from class to class. The first one I went to, there were over 20,000 agents, if I remember correctly. That was one with Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins, which I had no idea that's what I was walking into. I just knew Family Reunion was a cool place where I could become a top producer and get a lot better. And so I thought, hey, I'm going to go to that.
Yeah. Before I go to Kim, how many units did you produce last year?
Last year I did 27. The year before that was 45. And this year I've got seven closed and 9 in escrow. And then another 8 listings active.
So just even though you run a big business, you're still willing to slow down for a second, for a couple days.
Yeah.
Right. To go and learn and really start honing in on your craft.
Exactly. Yeah. That 4 days was invaluable. I mean, it'll propel my business. I came home and I talked to my assistant the day after. On Thursday, we connected, my executive secretary, and we went through all the details, all the items I wanted to implement. And I probably shouldn't have done that, because then Monday she was on me asking me, "Hey, I'm doing this. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. How do you want it done?" I said, "Whoa, hold on. You're doing awesome. We need to talk on Thursday again, because I've got way too many other things that I'm handling." So
awesome.
It was awesome.
Okay. Cam, what's your backstory?
I started 13 years ago, almost to the day. And I started as the admin for the Red Sign team, did that for about a decade, then became coach. I coached agents all across the nation. And then Shoney snagged me up to coach and train agents here as a productivity coach.
Awesome. Erica.
That's the girl, Mike.
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So I have been in real estate for about 10 years. I have been in Keller Williams about 9 years and on the Red Sign team for 7 years, 8 years, something like that. But I have definitely drank the Keller Williams punch and love going to Family Reunion.
Awesome.
I'm basically the same. 10 years, Keller Williams the whole time, and I'm on the Kennedy group. So
Great.
that's my backstory.
And Sally is one of our awesome ALC members as well.
Oh,
It
yeah.
does a lot to support agents here at the office. Well, what I want to do is just start with kind of getting some perspective on the session that you feel like you got the most value of. For those who haven't been before, the way that it's structured is you have these larger keynote sessions, right, where you have all basically 13,000 agents in one room, and then they go into breakout sessions. So they'll have agents who are the top of their craft across the country that focus on a specific niche or area of the real estate business, and they'll talk. And those are smaller rooms that might have 1,000 to 1,500 people in them. So maybe just share what your top breakout session was and what you got out of it.
Oh, the top breakout session?
Mhm.
Okay, well, actually, this is probably not I probably shouldn't go first because this is so random. Because I went to, we had several people from our office and that were on panels. And I actually was just worried about Susie Clyde. Susie's not here today, I don't think. Is she? No, she's not here. But I kind of had this really big aha for me as I gave her a protein bar right before, and then because she had a really upset stomach, and I was like, I'm going to duck in and just make sure she's doing okay without the intention of staying in that breakout. But her breakout session was like standing room only. There were people like on the floor, like crawling into all the spaces. And I just had this, I kind of wanted to hear what the other people had to say. I listened to one or two rounds of questions, but I just thought to myself, oh my heavens, this is somebody that I have access to on a weekly basis. In fact, Cam confirmed for me that she did do a panel on events as the value moment in this meeting. And there's these people that are just clambering to get into her class. And like, if you kind of, Cameron, you did the math, the amount of time, how much people spent, they're probably paying like a couple $100 to be in this breakout session. And I just thought like, man, we have so much access to so many high producers if we're just intentional about it. And we don't, I mean, you get a ton out of family reunion, but I was like, I can get a lot out of the people that I just am here with that happen to be from my office. So that's not necessarily the type of takeaway you were looking for, but that's what can.
Yeah. A good little plug. If you see Susie, tell her congratulations because it was awesome and she did a phenomenal job.
I went to a class with his name's Nick Walder, and the class was called From Zero to Inbound Leads in 30 Days. One of the things that he mentioned is that like putting stuff on social, like on YouTube and things, YouTube's going to obviously your content and how much you post is they're going to incentivize that. And what was interesting to me was the age group that he said are watching YouTube are actually people in their 30s, and they're watching it in their front room. And so one thing that he said is being consistent in posting your videos, make it applicable to the people that can relate to it, know your audience. And when people are commenting, he actually waits to comment back to those people until 24 to 48 hours because it will bring that message back up and create the relevance or create the, what do you call it? The
algorithm.
The algorithm, yeah, to put back in front of more people. So,
By the way, don't wait for your Google reviews. Google reviews, you need to respond to those ASAP as soon as possible. So yeah, this is a great strategy for Facebook, for Instagram, for other social media is wait 24 hours and you get re-engagement as well. So if they engaged on your post, are they going to remember you 24 hours later after scrolling through 300 other TikTok videos? Probably not. So you re-engage with them 24 hours later and they're back on your page, back in integrating with your social media.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Erica. That's awesome.
Good comment. I went to a class that was buy back 10 hours per week. with people. One of the big things they talked about in there is they said if you win the morning, then you win the day. How cool is that, right? And I know Tony Robbins talks about that. A lot of people out there talk about it, but I have found in my business, if I am able to win the morning, if I take care of myself, and for a lot of, especially like women, right? Especially if you can win the day before your kids wake up, then if you can win the morning before your kids wake up, then you can win the day. And I told my wife this, and she actually started implementing it. She started working out in the morning before all the kids woke up. And she tells me every time that she doesn't wake up to work out and take care of herself and think through, hey, what things do I have to do? Make a list of items for the day. She says, I just feel so jumbled. My mind is all over the place because as soon as the kids wake up, game over, right? They asked in the class, and something that you guys can maybe write down and apply to your business, what are repetitive tasks that can be handled by a system? Right? We talk about AI these days, and we talk about executive assistants, but honestly, you need to sit down and you need to audit your business every single day and figure out, did the last transaction I closed? So I just closed one this morning at 8:30 before coming here. So the question I have for myself tomorrow morning is going to be, what went really well with that transaction and what went wrong during the transaction? I had 2 on Friday that closed, so I'm going to be auditing those. That was something I went through this morning. I thought, okay, those closed on Friday. What went really well? And where did my processes or where did my systems actually fall? And what can I add in there? On the way over here, I was listening to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and one of the top producers on it said that top agents wake up every morning and they audit their systems. And she asked the question, she was like, when was the last time you audited yours?
So two things with both of these shares, I think that's so interesting is right now, the common theme I felt like was obviously social media, how important that is in growing your business in today's world, and then also systematizing your business, right? You have to have some infrastructure to make sure that you're not only operating efficiently, but also that you provide a better experience to your clients, right? Cam, I'm curious what your session was. And also I know because you were at the CEO Summit. So if you can sprinkle anything from that specific session, that was a valuable takeaway from you.
Yes. So, well, my favorite breakout, which I would categorize as not everyone all in the same room, I'm just going to tease it for you all because we are going to launch it here in April. It's called Breakthrough 120. There's a couple of market centers that did this. The average agent got 9 agreements signed in 120 days. So get ready, coming April-ish. We're going to launch that. So all of you should come. So very interesting in how they did it and validating.
So you're going to be running that same system here.
We're running that same system here in April. So get ready for it. The CEO Summit. So this is really cool. This is like, oh, hey, you just paid $1,000 for a ticket. You have a hotel. You're $1,000 for a flight. Why not pay $300 more? And here's some more people. Honestly, every year that is my very favorite thing. Like sometimes I think like, should I only go to the CEO Summit because it is so good?
How do they format that?
They basically get 4 people that would be keynote speakers, like someone that could be like the big headline for a conference. And they have one after another. All 4 of them go. Is it 4 or is it 3? There's 4. Oh, yeah. I only like 3 of them this year. But it's funny. AI loved the one that I didn't love. Like all of the notes that it gave me, it's like, these are so great. I'm like, no, this was the boring one. Maybe it was just how she presented. But anyway, there was some really great things. Actually, so I really liked Will Gutierrez. He wrote Unreasonable Hospitality. He was probably my favorite, but he was everyone's favorite. So I'm pretty sure Novali is going to steal my thunder with all of this. So I won't even tell you about all of his. I'll tell you about my second favorite, who was Jenny Wood. She wrote this book, Wild Courage. And what did she say? Fear, uncertainty, fear of failure, and fear of judgment by others. That's are the 3 things that are holding most people back. And if you don't take action, you'll never get over it. So she had some some interesting little stories and things that you should do. But one of them that I really liked, she called it Woo with You, which I thought was an interesting thing that didn't really help me remember what it was. But basically, if you look at your emails that you send specifically to your clients and swap out 70% of your I statements for you statements, then that will move the client to the center of the story and they'll like everything you say way better, even if it's bad news and things. So no more I statements, it's all you statements.
Yeah. Was it Don Miller?
Yeah,
So that's
Don Miller,
Which is interesting.
because he was
Putting
the
both of
next
those
day. Yeah,
together, right? Is there's a Don Miller, he wrote a book called The Story Brand,
story brand.
The Story Brand. And he talked about how too often agents or people try to position themselves as the hero in the story.
Yeah,
Right.
we're Yoda.
Yeah.
We're not.
Like we're the guide.
We're Mary Poppins.
We're guiding the heroes, which our clients are the heroes, right? So that just changing that word changes, instead of saying I, which is I'm the hero, changing it to you, and you're making your client the hero in that
Yeah.
story.
One other cool thing I loved about Jenny Wood is that she talked about, and I applied this just the other day. It was really, really neat. So this is something you can go out and do literally tomorrow. She said, start making your emails with 3 bullet points. Don't have this long list of to-dos or this long list of, hey, we're asking for this from the inspection. So I took what she gave us and said 3 bullet points. I put it into AI. So I uploaded my inspection report into AI. I said, hey, here's the points that I've talked about with my clients. So I put all the points in. These are the things that we're concerned about. Now I want you to make 3 bullet points. I want you to create an email for me with 3 bullet points that section off each one of these items into 3 different sections. So I sent this really concise email. Even I was impressed. I was like, dude, this is awesome. I want to receive this as a seller's agent. Like, this is what I want to see. Very professional, 3 bullet points. And then I put all of the other stuff, all the other crap in the inspection report. I put it on a 1-page document saying, hey, here's why we're asking for these items. Oh, and by the way, here's 8 other questions that we have just from the inspection report. This seller's agent called me. We had a conversation yesterday, and she pointed out how professional and how easy it was for her to go through everything that I had presented. She goes, this is the most clear and concise reply from an inspection that I've ever received from any agent. So thanks, Jenny Wood.
One thing I want to point out, this is just a little observation. One thing that how many of you have Otter on right now? 2 of you? Have I taught you nothing the past year? Okay. This is a good thing to practice even with your clients, is active listening versus passive listening, right? And what I would recommend, if you don't have a notebook in front of you, I see some of you writing notes, which is phenomenal, awesome. Or you have Otter on listening and saying, hey, I'm going to go back to this conversation afterwards. I just highly recommend some of these small little nuggets, even though they are simple, make sure to write them down, capture them somehow. And the goal is not to try and install everything. It's just saying over time, I'm going to come back to these notes and I'm going to just decide what's the 1 or 2 things that I can start deploying from all this. So just a little note as we're halfway through is just make sure that you're taking some good notes. I want to actually jump to kind of the end in mind is you all sent some of the top quotes that you really liked, as well as your number 1 takeaway. And I want to make sure that we have sufficient time for this. So I'm going to actually just kind of insert it right now. And we're going to start with Josh. So the Gary Keller quote that you sent was from his vision speech. And him and Jay Popzon were talking about this, and they said, basically, when in doubt, zoom out, right? Perspective tells you everything. Why did that statement land for you?
I think the biggest thing with that was I felt that I zoom in too much into my business with emails and tasks. Before the end of the day, I'm coming out. And so I've really started focusing on what is the overall perspective of the business and how do I create a magical experience for my clients. We're not just, at least I'm not just a realtor. I'm not just a therapist. Like, I am helping someone build a future through real estate and create an investment in their lives for however long they're going to be there. They're creating memories in this dream that they've had for how long leading up to this point. And so as I thought about that, I thought, okay, I need to zoom out for my business. I need to figure out where can I create client experiences that are magical, kind of like Disneyland does for us when we go to Disneyland? And how can that magical experience be implemented in my business as I zoom out?
Cool. And your top takeaway was look up from emails, task lists, and you'll remember how lucky you are to do what you do.
Yep. So kind of like what I talked about, right? It's really looking at your business and figuring out where can you place your specific touch into that business? Is it client events? Is it calling everyone on a weekly, quarterly, yearly basis and getting an update from them? Is it having lunches with them, right? There's so many things that we can be doing in real estate. That's the beauty of it, right? You can pick what you want to do, and that usually is successful if you do it consistently over time.
Awesome. Thank you. Erica.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Gary Vee said, stop being romantic about yesterday. And then infatuated about tomorrow, but dismissed today. So to me, that was very like impactful because it's oftentimes we're fixated on what's happened in the past, and tomorrow is we're infatuated with the goal or whatever, but we don't take action today. And so I just really liked that it was something that kind of puts you in like, what are you going to do today to make a difference to grow your business?
It's always about perspective and then also just presence, right? In your business, like being in the now.
Yep.
And not
And then
focusing on the past.
yeah, and he was just he talked about we're now in the interest. He said it's not social media that we're in the day and age, it's interest media. We can have somebody that has been an influencer or somebody that has had this huge platform like him be putting out stuff on the social media, but then somebody that comes in and has a really like a great video that's intriguing is going to push in front of somebody that in front of multiple people if it's intriguing and it catches the interest. So it's important to know your audience and put content out there that is going to catch your audience's attention.
Love it. How many of you love social media? One person. The funny thing is, how many of you spend time on social media? 90% of the hands raised, right?
I was also going to say, like, Gary Vee had people stand up that have not, that he's like, you've been agents for 15 years and 15 to 25 years, and you're doing great, and word of mouth has been working. And he just said, and you're the ones I'm worried about the most.
Yeah.
Because, which was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah. And you, Sally, the one that you really liked, you actually sent over, was the parable of the raft.
Yeah.
Right, with Jay Shetty.
Yeah, which just kind of goes into that a little bit. So, Jay Shetty, I actually think I booked this trip to hear him speak. I love Jay Shetty. So, he talked about, in fact, I think he was like, the Buddha teaches that a man was on a journey and he came to a river and he had to build this raft. So he builds this raft, and the raft gets him safely to the other side. And he loves the raft. It kept him safe. And it got him to where he wanted to go across the river. And then his next journey is through the forest. And so he tries to carry his raft along with him. But it keeps on getting hung up. It's getting snagged and just getting in his way. And so he realizes that he has to put down the raft in order to get to where he wants to go. And so whatever it is that's gotten you to where you are now, it just may not be the same thing that gets you to that next goal, that next place that you want to take your business.
Yeah. And I think just for a second, if we can hang on this one, because I think what I love about family reunion and just these events in general is it kind of gives you some perspective of the rafts that you're carrying, or the stuff that you're like, yeah, this is what got me to where I am today. And you're still deploying that same playbook, even though it may not be highest and best for the future. So what do you guys feel like were some of the overall or common themes or things that came through at FR where like that was one of the rafts that I've been carrying, or things I feel like I need to, let go of to move forward?
Well, I've been thinking about mine longer than family reunion. Maybe that's why I have an answer right now. I define myself. We all kind of do this, like I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert, I'm whatever. And how I am will probably not get me to where I want to be. So I literally hired a coach while at family reunion because I thought how I am and the things that I am doing have got me so far, and I'm not okay with where I'm at. I don't know, maybe I'm just not happy with anything. But my vision is so much bigger and so much greater that I can't keep being the same. I need to improve. And so even though I'm coaching and helping people do that, I need that same thing in my life is I need to go improve and become a better me for all of this.
The Jim Rohn, right? He talks about, he says, work harder on yourself than you do on your job, right? Which is usually the opposite. People usually work harder at their craft, and they don't realize like sometimes they are the limiting, factor in their business.
Yeah.
Great.
For me, it was, I felt like I have always been in my head about I'm a personal person. And so I do really good one-on-one. I do great, like talking and understanding clients' needs. My struggle has always been on social media. I would rather be private. I would rather not be social media. So getting in here was kind of a wake-up call, this family reunion. And Gary Vee said something that kind of stuck. He said, how many of you decided or made a decision that you weren't going to buy an Apple phone because you had that BlackBerry and you needed the buttons? He's like, you are going to be extinct if you don't continue to build your brand online. And so for me, it's just that's what I need to get out of my head. Being personable, face to face is great, but we need to build that brand and get online so that we can be in front of our clients. He also mentioned how many of us 12 months ago would have searched up something on Google, and now you're using AI or chat to search up things. If you are not visible on YouTube, he said YouTube, LinkedIn, even Snap Spotlights, which I have no idea what those are, but looking into those, Snap Spotlights, all of those things, chat is going to be pulling from, or AI is going to be pulling from those, and you need to be searchable on those engines.
Yeah, and that's huge. I saw a Facebook post of a lady just recently, and she types out and says, "Hey, I'm moving to Utah. I need a good realtor. Where can I find one?" And she went on Facebook, and eventually that's going to change to going to ChatGPT or Claude or some of these other AI tools. But where they're pulling from is from those actual sources. They're pulling from Reddit. So if you don't see your name in Reddit, you're not going to show up on ChatGPT. I'll give an example really quick to your point, that I saw two people's names in that Facebook post that are here at Keller Williams. One of them was Scott Heaton. He pulled up 3 or 4 times. And I'm thinking in my mind, not only is he getting recommended on Facebook by his clients or by his people, ChatGPT is now going to be recommending him as well. And then I saw, I think Susie Clyde was probably the other one on there as well. And she pulled up 2 or 3 times as well. So all these comments, and the lady obviously said, "Hey, I'm going to reach out to these people." But guess who else is going to be recommending these people? It's going to be AI, right? That's our future. And so if you're not online, if you're not out there, there was a quote that said, where is it? If you don't show up, you're invisible. I don't know if that was Gary Vee or someone else, but that really hit me hard. And that was one of the things that I realized I need to drop my raft, my mindset, my limiting beliefs. It's not necessarily what I'm doing necessarily that I need to stop doing. It's my limiting beliefs of, oh, well, I can't do that, or I can't do this because of X, Y, and Z. I think as realtors, we make so many excuses. I'm the first one to step in line when it comes to excuses on why I can't do something. And I think a lot of times we just need to ask, how can I do that? Instead of saying, I can't do it, How can I do it? And that's one of my rafts that I'm going to drop and say, okay, let's move forward. Let's take this by the reins and ride this bull to the finish line.
Yeah. Cam, before I go to your quote and takeaway, one of the things that Gary talked about, which two things, you should all do this just to see an example, is go ask ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude who the top 5 or 10 agents are in a certain area, right? The one thing that you want to do is not do it inside of your account, okay? Because ChatGPT wants you to like it, right? So it will lie to you and put your name up there, even though you may not be. So you want to go in an incognito window or not logged into chat at all to see the real results. And what it's pulling from is primarily social media, right? So that's where it gets a lot of its insight from. As you're creating content, that's going to help, but also if other people are recommending you insert or in the comments, that also helps. But one thing that they pointed out, I'm just curious if anybody's done this yet, because we talked about it as a leadership team. Has anybody created additional handles for any of their social media accounts yet?
I did that the week before I went because I knew it was coming. So I created one for my coaching. I've posted 4 times and I'm very upset that it's only 4.
Explain the idea behind that. And Gary had told us that day he had posted 347 times in one day.
Yeah. Yeah, he kept calling it P&H. It's platforms and handles. So being on all of the platforms and then having multiple handles, because you might not want to talk specific things on specific channels, kind of an idea. And so you can talk about your specific weird interests. He used asparagus as the example. You could have a whole handle about asparagus and talk about that. And as long as you have your contact info, like maybe someone's going to reach out to you. It would be super random, but he's heard crazier things. And so having some things like that. And then if you wanted to take more of the AI version of that, is if you're like Shoney Ivins in Orem, first-time home buyers, like AI is going to see that. And even though it's a weird handle for your name, it will understand that, oh, Shoney works in Orem with first-time home buyers. And then all of the content is geared towards those people. And now if someone's like, I want to buy my first home in Orem, who's good to help? Well, Shoney's going to show up because he has all of this content around first-time home buyers in Orem. And so he said, might as well go make one for every city or every person that you serve and go crazy on it. And I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, I think there's 2 layers to this, just for context. There's some of you in this room that do very consistent posting on social media. That's where you can start thinking about these additional handles. But then there's some of us who maybe are very inconsistent with social media. That's where you want to start first base, is just build consistency, right? Build the habit on your current place. But that's also where, if you want to separate your Instagram and say, I'm going to have one specifically for business. I know Mike Gooch, we interviewed him last year, and he primarily does a lot of his business through Instagram. Yet he has a personal account and he has a business account where all of his business stuff he puts on that business account. And so it is, Mike Gooch Real Estate, essentially. So it names that he's in real estate. So great. Cam, you had these quotes.
Yes. So the bottom one, Erica already kind of mentioned, is Gary Vee said, social media doesn't exist anymore. Keller Williams, he didn't say messed up, but messed up. It's not social media con. It's now interest media con. So if you scroll on Instagram, like open up your Instagram, well, don't do this right now because I'll lose all of you. If you open Instagram and start scrolling, I'm pretty sure out of the first 10 posts, you will only have followed 1 or 2 of them. But the rest of the stuff is things that it thinks you are interested in. And so with this, there becomes a lot of power, because even though some people have been very good about building a following, it almost doesn't matter, because if you post something that is interesting to enough people, it will be shown to those people. And you could have a brand new account and your very first post go viral, even though it's not well edited, it might not be well lit, the sound might be awful, like all of the things that these classic people that were great at social media did. It doesn't matter anymore. It's all about interest. So this is both your interest and what people are interested in. And if you can marry those up, then those are great. So you don't need to be social anymore. Congratulations. Just be interesting. I don't know if that's harder or not.
Yeah.
The next one, which is the top one. Oh wait. That one was different. I have another one that I sent you. I don't know what that top one. Oh, okay. Donald Miller. I think he is awesome. He has a great way of putting everything. But he mentioned, I'm really good at writing 300 pages. He's an author. I'm not good at writing a sentence on the back of the book that makes you want to read the 300 pages. I feel like that's basically us as real estate agents. Like, how much time and energy and effort do we put into, like, oh, I need to get better at CMAs or my listing appointment or this and that, or working with clients. I need to learn how to stage homes better, blah, blah, blah. And we're missing the one sentence that would get someone to work with us. And so we don't always need to get better at writing the 300 pages. Us in this room are probably pretty good at that, or we're constantly getting better at that. We need to really focus on writing that one page or that one sentence that will get people to work with us.
Love it.
Oh, and then he says that we don't always choose the best product. We choose the one we can understand the fastest. And so this can be so simple. He told a story about how he got hired as a consultant to help a company that sells aquariums. And his his deliverable that he gave him was, oh, you should just say, kids love aquariums on all of your branding and packaging and website and everything. And they kind of looked at him like, really? That's what you're giving us? Kids love aquariums? Well, their sales basically doubled because of just those 3 words on the packaging. And so it is simple and easy, and sometimes that's the very best. It's the low cognitive load. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to decide. It's probably why Josh's email worked so well. Hey, we need these 3 things fixed. We have these 8 questions. So easy for the agent to digest, and then the sellers to do the same thing. And so can we lower that cognitive load?
We just often make things more complex than it needs to be. Right.
Yeah. He also mentioned like when people are asking you what you do for a profession, think about your response rather than just saying I'm a realtor or whatever your response is. Think about the problem that you solve and how that you can relate to them. So what he came up with is that he said most families live their entire life without living in their dream home. I help them find their dream home. That's how that was an example that he used.
It's way better.
Yeah.
I want to work with that person.
Yeah.
Erica, you're hired.
So I want to kind of just get some clarity around, if we take a step back for a second, to Gary's vision speech, right? So in this part, he goes through about 120 slides, just all the market data, like what's really happening and where are we going, right? And this is kind of cool, where I even remember in 2022, he said, we're going into a recession, a real estate recession, and it's going to last longer than people will anticipate, right? And he's been pretty accurate every year. That's one of the areas that I love. And if you don't have it on your calendar, please be here on the 24th. So during team meeting, where Johnny and I are going to go back through all of those slides. So if you weren't there, you missed it. We will go through those slides and talk about what's happening in the economy, where we're headed in 2026, but also into kind of the beginning of 2027. So what were some of the takeaways or overall just energy? What did Gary talk about? What caught your attention in his vision speech this year?
Yeah, one of the things that was crazy, as we'll look through the slides here in a couple of weeks, the volume of real estate sold was like one of the highest ever.
Third highest in history.
Third highest in history. And if we translate that to money in our pockets, like that should be like we all made the most amount of money ever. But there's a lot of us that don't feel like we made the most amount of money ever. And there's a couple of people that might feel bad, like, oh, I did make the most amount of money ever. And that's kind of the story of the market, is we also have more agents in the market than we ever have before. And so it's not fairly distributed. The top agents are making ridiculous amounts of money, and then the bottom agents are making next to nothing.
Yeah, that's very true. I think in all this social media stuff, we need to understand and we need to take a step back, kind of like what I put up there as my quote, step back and look at the overall goal. Social media does not replace the relationship that you're going to have with your clients. And so I just want to put a pin in that for a minute. Who you talk to matters more than what you post. Okay. So if you guys go out, or if you go out right now today, you're putting out tons of content, you are amazing, and you're doing it for the next 3 weeks, you may not see any traction from that. You may not get clients from that. You may not have people reaching out from that. And quite frankly, they told us, Gary Vee said it takes 6 months of constant, consistent posting for AI to recognize you as a top realtor. So 6 months, think about it. So if you're committing to this, commit to it. Like, don't just say, I'm going to do this for a week and try it out. Commit to it, because it takes 6 months for AI to recognize it. So going back to the vision speech, in support of that, exactly, like who you talk to matters. Gary said this, it may have been Jay Papasan that said this as well, but he said there's 2 groups of agents. There's those that prospect and those that don't. That's it. And so are you prospecting on a daily basis? Now, prospecting has a lot of different classifications. It has a lot of different ways to prospect, but are you prospecting or are you not prospecting? Because that's what's going to determine a successful agent from one that isn't going to be successful in this day and age.
I want to just for a second with that, going back to that original quote, when in doubt, zoom out. I think it's such a great question to ask is, in 2025, did I have a challenging year or did everybody have a challenging year? Because they proved it, right? It was the 3rd highest sales volume in the country in history was last year. So a lot of people made money. The question is, did I hit my goals? And if not, and what's the common denominator? Likely, obviously, it's usually me, right? So what do I need to change? And usually it comes back to that piece is, am I prospecting consistently? And am I doing the right amount of what we'll call kind of value delivery, right? Am I serving clients in the right way that's causing people to come back into my pipeline, right?
Yeah, so true.
Anything from you two on the vision speech?
I think it just struck me again how the first-time home buyers are getting older and older and older. People are delaying.
What was the average timeline?
I think
they said.
I thought they said the first time. Oh, I looked it up, but it's getting closer to 40.
40.
And like from the nation. Obviously, I think we're a little bit lower age here in Utah, but I actually, Gary like urged us at that point. He was just like, please go teach people what you know and get people to buy real estate, because it's going to impact, if you think about the trickle down effect of people, the average home buyer not buying their first home until they're 40 or close to it, that is going to affect the economy, add 40 years to that, and it's going to be a different dynamic than what we have right now.
Oh. Yeah, Gary said, because I think the consumer sentiment, which is basically how people feel about the market as a first-time home buyer, is at pretty close to an all-time low. I think it's worse than 1981 when interest rates were at 18%. People feel worse about today's market than they did back then, which I think is like 17% consumer sentiment level, which Gary talked about. He said, well, if most of our clients knew what we knew, if they had the same conviction that we had, they would actually feel better about the market. So basically he just said, we have to do a better job at educating, teaching people the reality and the opportunities in this market and different solutions to their problem. They feel like affordability is a problem. Are we properly presenting to them the solutions to that problem? So he did point it back at us. Erica?
Yeah, that was kind of mine is be the market expert, bring real data, differentiate yourself from the competitors instead of talking about the volume you've done or whatever, bring the value to the table. It's volume or value versus volume as far as competitors.
Yeah, love it. 20 seconds each. So what is your one action item that you plan to install in your business, or maybe you've already done it, but the one thing that you know is going to be a positive implementation practice for your business.
Yeah, I'm going to come to Novalee's team meeting and do everything that she says to do. And the second thing is, and everyone can do this, is I always think, what would I love to be known for? Like that Gary Keller would call me on stage. Like, am I going to be that social media guy? Am I going to be the events guy? Kind of like Susie Clyde is. Like, what's your one thing that you are going to get way better at than anyone else and be in that top 1%? Because that's where you're going to get the results.
What I came away with from this is I need to deliver value consistently to everyone and just build that trust. That's really why someone's going to choose me as a realtor, is because they trust me. And what better way to trust someone than going on social media and sharing all of the conversations I have on a daily basis and explaining to people, this is how the process works. This is how you can feel confident and comfortable through the process. Because it is scary. And because we do it every day, we may not feel like it's scary, but our clients don't know what to expect if we're not helping them through that process and being that guide. And so that's something I definitely want to do.
Yeah, mine's similar. I think that it's important for me to kind of get out of my shell and create content that people can relate to. I've created content that it's like, here, this house is for sale or whatever, and it's not really relatable. It's more selfish. And one of the things that they said is the story needs to outline you being the guide to the process. Make your client the hero, you're the guide. And so that's my focus.
Love it.
Okay, and so somebody asked me at family reunion, how would my business be differently if I were be differently? That's they had better grammar than I do. But how would my business be different if I was in a position like most CEOs where they lose their job if they're not profitable? Like, so they're beholden to shareholders. So how would we behave differently in our business? And so my main takeaway from that was just to all the information we got is to be more clear in my messaging with all of my clients on what it is that my goal is to help them. My goal is their goal. And you touched on it too. But just making those opportunities to let them know that they're the hero of the story. The story's about them on every single transaction. So.
Love it. Please give them all a hand. Great job. Thank you, rock stars. One thing that I'll just say, kind of the undertone is, I think it's, if I were to encourage you all to do one skill set, improve on one skill set, it is the art of storytelling. If we look throughout history, this is something that started, I don't know, however many years ago, where they would draw pictures in caves, right? And they would depict a story. How many people read books in here? How many of you hate reading books, right? So you listen to Audible, or instead you go to YouTube, or you go to Instagram and you watch something called what do they have on there? Stories, Instagram stories, right? Podcasts, you can listen to those too, right? They're all come back to storytelling. And so I just think it's so important for us to be the storytellers of what's the reality that's happening in the market and how that actually translates into decisions for buyers and sellers. That's what we need to get really good at, because where most of your clients are learning right now is news, which their stories by design have to be what? Positive or negative? Negative, right? So you have to be the positive voice in this economy, telling clients the reality that there's a lot of options out there, right? On helping them to make that next transition. So last quotes that I'll share with you is two from Gary. He said, if we don't understand the economy, if we don't understand the numbers, we're missing a piece of our ability to consult and give people perspective. So it's so important to know the numbers. And I believe if every consumer actually understood what we understood, the consumer confidence index wouldn't be as low as it is. So on the 24th, we'll be going through all the numbers. So we'll actually translate those numbers for you. We'll show you all the slides. And our recommendation is just take 3 or 4 of those slides and then go use them to teach your clients what's happening in the market, because it is a really healthy economy, right? If we have the right solutions for them. And don't miss March 17th, you get to hear from Nova Lee on Unreasonable Hospitality, which I'd recommend buying that book in advance because it is a phenomenal book. But Nova Lee will be breaking that down for you in team meeting on the 17th. So enjoy lunch. Thank you to our lunch sponsors and have a great week. Thanks all. Hey, just a little heads up. There's 2 QR codes on here. Both Cameron and I have put our notes together for Family Reunion. So if you want to get all the notes, you can just scan that. You get access to it. And the market update slides, all of Gary's slides are on there as well. So you can scan that.